What's up, everybody? It's your girl April back with another reality recap. This time is Married to Medicine, and I have some thoughts, y'all. What do you think that happened that went down between Contessa and Dr. Heavenly and Dr. Damon at Simone's house? I can't wait to hear your feedback. But I want to welcome everyone back to my channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Also, I want to encourage you to like, share, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification button so you'll know when when I do my uploads. Get into it. Come on. It's fun here. Subscribe, join my tribe. And I do a lot of reality recap where I recap Married to Medicine. I do Married at First Sight. And I also do Ready to Love. So those are some of the ones that I do. And I may pop in, a time or two and talk about the House of Dragons because I am a big Game of Thrones fan. So let's get into it. Let's talk about what happened is this episode 8? Yeah, let's talk about it because I have some thoughts. So the ladies are back they're back from Vegas. Yeah, they went to Vegas. So it starts out with Anila talking to Dr. Karen about what happened in Vegas. She has to get some wine, and he says, you still have to drink?" So yeah, Anila is giving Dr. Kieran the rundown of everything that went down on the trip. She tells him how Dr. Toya said that she wished she would have known that penises don't get bigger after marriage, and also that Toya, if she had to swap husbands, she would swap with Anila and take Dr. Kieran. Dr. Kieran was not trying to hear anything. He was just like, look, what goes down in Vegas stays in Vegas. So they talk about Anila's parents coming to stay with them for a little bit to help with the kids. So Dr. Kieran has the bright idea to put the 10 Commandments or the rules of the house for Anila's parents. And we all know Anila's mom is very, very, very outspoken. So it's not Anila's mom is not about to hear that. Anila even said that the best way to deal with her mom is just not to say nothing at all. So, but I don't think Dr. Karen is about to let that go down. So we go to where Toya and her son are having a discussion. I believe it's the oldest boy, and he's talking about he went to a sleepover and got accused of stealing something. So Toya immediately calls Eugene in and wants to incorporate him on the conversation. Dr. Eugene appeared to be like, look, I'm watching a game. But he does come on in and get in on the conversation. And it was an interesting one because, I couldn't really tell what happened, but it seemed like some kind of game card or something went missing. And Toya's son was accused of being the one to steal it. And then, made him feel some type of way. So Dr. Eugene and Toya really encouraged him to make sure he makes the right decisions of who he's hanging out with, who his friends are, and because, birds of a feather flock together. The hands of one is the hands of all of that kind of stuff. So, they really try to, have that conversation with him to get him to understand. So Toya said this is why she became a housewife, so she didn't have to worry about any other strangers taking care of her child. She could be more hands-on. That's what she says. She also made mention of Dr. Eugene working 12-hour shifts. While she was away in Vegas, he was working 12-hour shifts, and he was sleeping for like 10 hours. they had a little back and forth, and Toya's son said, why are y'all always arguing? And when I saw that, I was like, immediately that was a red flag for me. And the reason why was because I grew up early on where I had a mother and father who kind of argued a lot, and it's draining for the child. And it seems like the banter that Dr. Eugene and Toya have is weighing down on the is trickling down and weighing down on the child. Like it's almost like he feels like we can't even have a decent conversation without it getting into an argument. So he just seems like he's just over that with his parents, and I hope they are mindful, Eugene and Toya, about this, because that's something that you want. I am of the thought that when me and my husband got married, one of the things was because we both came from households that had arguing and things of that nature. So we didn't want to have those type of conversations. Like we wanted to show something better for our child. So we didn't want to have like heated conversations. Like if cooler heads couldn't prevail, we were just gonna table it or wait till he goes to bed. But we really didn't argue and get explosive with each other like that, or go back and forth. We always try to be respectful of each other, and really have a conversation. So I don't know. I think it's just Toya's delivery is very like almost, I won't say combative, but I guess the tone of her voice, it almost feels like is almost in a way of nagging, if that's a good word for it. But and Eugene is kind of like, and he doesn't really, I won't say back down from Toya, but he can kind of go back and forth. Eugene has shown to be a person who can can go back and forth with someone. um, I think there is a deeper issue going on between them. I know Dr. Eugene said a few weeks ago that, he just feels like he is stagnant in his career. And I know from personal experience, when you are having an issue in one area of life, like a career, you're doing that for the better part of the day. And if you're not happy doing your job and doing what you do for a living, it can filter over into your family life. And that's one of the things that I do in my practice where I do readings for people. One of my missions is to help people to find their purpose and why they came here. And I feel like if you are working in your purpose, or if you're doing something in your that aligns with your purpose, that you would then have a better it would. And Dr. Eugene, I think he is here to save lives and do medicine. I feel like that could be his purpose, but it's just he needs a little shakeup, and doing something that else that kind of excites it, because going through that pandemic, I can't imagine the emotions that came came to the surface for him, seeing a bunch of death, working long hours, not really having an end in sight. I mean, they went through that for like 2 years straight, like going through, just the whole pandemic and stuff. So I can imagine that wore him down, and he probably just needs something to get his juices going again, and just to be excited about doing. And he did say that to Toya. So I'm hoping that he would be able to find that for himself, something that he can get excited about again. But yeah, I think just as overall, not just for Eugene, when you are working in your purpose, it doesn't seem like work. You, even though you may be tired, you'll be more passionate about, like, I'm passionate about doing my YouTube videos. So I don't mind, taking my notes and come in and talking to you, my tribe. So it's finding that outlet. So when you have, because I'm not the biggest fan of my full-time job, but I have to do it to pay my bills and, take care of my family and things of that nature. So, but this is my outlet. So I can, have fun doing this. And then it energizes me to do my regular job. So yeah, get at me. I'll put my link in the description box if you want to set up a reading and maybe find your purpose. It definitely helps with just direction and something to be focused on, and just knowing that it just you feel like you have your mission in life, and it just energizes you. So enough of that. Let's get back to the recap. So Dr. Heavenly goes to Dr. Jackie's office about her being on menopause. Dr. Jackie tries to convince Heavenly to take the O shot. Um, Heavenly, comes in, and you can tell she's a little bit heavier than normal. That she has something weighing on her, and she does tell Dr. Jackie that her mom, they gave her her mom's physicians gave her a pamphlet about hospice care for her mom, and so that's weighing heavily on her, and I can understand that because I had to go through that with my dad, where having to figure out what kind of care he was going to get, because he did have stage 4 lung cancer, and he couldn't, of course, take care of himself, and he was, on a downward spiral. So having to get that, it does bring it kind of brings you down to reality, like, oh my God, this is really happening. When you go to hospice, you know that it's pretty much, inevitable what is about to occur. So yeah, it's the grieving process kind of starts early, because this is becoming your reality at that point. So yeah, my heart went out to Dr. Heavenly for that. So Anila welcomes her parents to her home. She made sure they have their favorite food. Dr. Karen lays down the rules. And of course, Anila's mom was not hearing it. She was, they're like, you don't make rules for the parents. And so she tears up the rules. Simone has a dinner party at her house. And she is talking about, she's still gathering information for this couples book. So in my mind, I really like, okay, so she invited Dr. Scott and Dr. Contessa and Dr. Heavenly and Dr. Damon to come to her and Cecil's home. So I'm like, okay, Dr. Simone, once again, you stirring that pot. You stirring the pot, girl. You know that was going to be an explosive dinner. You do exactly what you were doing, Dr. Simone. You ain't fooling me not one bit. So Dr. Heavenly comes in, and she's her and Dr. Damon were the first to arrive. And I'm not really sure if they knew if Dr. Contessa and Dr. Scott was going to be the other couple here, but Dr. Heavenly, asked for an appetizer, and it's a liquid appetizer. You know what, if been watching Married to Medicine for a while, you know what Dr. Heavenly's liquid appetizer is. So, so Dr. Scott and Dr. Contessa, they arrive, and Dr. Heavenly immediately says that they're here to give relationship. She's here to help them out with their marriage, and so Contessa was not trying to hear that, and she was not trying to back down. She was like, she definitely was like, we're not about to take no relationship advice from Dr. Heavenly. So they sit down and they start kind of talking about Vegas, and the men immediately get up like, we don't want to hear nothing about what y'all did in Vegas. So Simone says that she thinks she would have preferred a yes man. Nobody thinks that Simone would have liked the yes man, because she would have walked all over him. Dr. Contessa says she wouldn't have wanted a yes man. Now, Dr. Heavenly, she always bring in the humor to the situation, and she's always making Dr. Damon squirm in their confessional. So she says she gets what she wants when she put her mouth on it, and Dr. Damon's like, "Oh no, we're not talking about that." It's just, and I think she just does it. I don't think she means anything like seriously with it, but I think she just likes making him squirm in his confessionals because she knows he doesn't like that, but that it's just funny. It's good entertainment and it's good. She really keeps this show going and keeps it light. So yeah, and the fact that she's going through so much in her personal life and that she can still find something to laugh about, I feel like that's an admirable quality about Miss Dr. Heavenly. So Cecil pulls out, he jokes and says that he's, as they sit down for dinner, that he is going to put an NDA for them to sign. So he's joking, of course. Contessa said that they should, gives a suggestion that Simone and Cecil should put in their book about how they met. And so Scott tries to, talk about how he and Contessa met, and he was trying to get he was trying to get the dates or if he was a resident or an attending, he couldn't remember, and so he tries to, ask Contessa, like, help me out. Was it this? She was like, you tell me. So it was kind of like she put it back on Scott. Scott um, immediately got it together and said, it was his first year in med school, whatever, or. And the one thing that brought them together was that they were both planning to be out of debt within 4 years because Contessa was in the military was going to pay for her schooling, and because Scott, I guess, was in the middle of having a plan of being debt free from school within 4 years. So that was one of the things that they said enticed them to get together, because Dr. Scott said, had he known that Contessa was going to be in debt for whatever years, or, she wasn't going to be making any money, that was going to be that was going to be a no for him. So Dr. Damon, is having, and I feel like this is kind of cut up different because I don't know why Damon just came out of the blue and said, women, what he said about women. So Dr. Damon says women don't realize how painful their words can be, and there is no line with them. So he's basically saying that, women kind of can cut deep. They can, go for the jugular basically with their words. And he doesn't think that women really know how much their words can cut. And my husband used to say that. So I wasn't surprised that Dr. Damon said that, because we are wordsmiths. Some of us are very much wordsmiths. And, there's life and death in the tongue. It says that in the Bible. And we as women are very good at, wielding that power with our tongue. We can cut you down and we can build you up. So that's one of the things I believe Dr. Damon was kind of getting at. And Contessa says, ask if he's talking about Dr. Heavenly. So automatically, as Dr. Damon is talking, you can tell Contessa gets defensive and says, all right, is she talking about Heavenly? Contessa disagrees because she says, she can't say that's all women, like, Dr. Damon said women. She was like, are you saying all women? And, he was just, like in general. And she says that she has to disagree because she would rather wrestle than to get into sparring of words with people and someone, pointing out her vulnerabilities. So she would rather just wrestle. Contessa need to get, she's a doctor. Maybe you need to get your test. I don't know if your trainer is giving you some type of, I don't want to say steroids, but it feels like you have a lot more aggression in you this year. Like this season, it seems like Contessa has a lot of aggression, or maybe I just had a blind eye to it. I'm not really sure, but she, Dr. Damon says he notices in their friend group where things get shared, and then there's a punchline when they get together again. And he's right, that does happen. His wife does engage in it. All of them engage in it, especially the women. They all engage in it. No one is safe. Maybe maybe Dr. Jackie not as much, but most of the ladies, that's what they do. They go back and forth. They shade each other. That's just what women do. So I think it just makes Dr. Damon, uncomfortable, because usually when they do that, their men are with them, and I guess it does put the men in a weird kind of spot, because if your wife and my wife are going at each other, now we have to kind of like either take our wife's side, and it can get issue with them. And I guess he could be using Dr. Karen and Dr. Eugene as a reference in his mind, like that was about to tear their relationship apart, or the men's friend group apart, because they kind of were getting in the mud with each other, and Dr. Karen was making jokes about their moving and stuff like that, and that's just something that they don't do. So maybe that's where Dr. Damon was coming from. Simone asked Heavenly if she hears what he's saying. Um, Heavenly lets them know that they weren't talking about. He's not talking about her. He's talking about them, and he knows that she wouldn't do that. Contestants both disagree, of course, and they call her the culprit of everything. So Heavenly says she doesn't say anything you don't want. Okay, I'm reading my notes. So she's saying, she told Dr. Contessa, well, don't say anything that you don't want don't want out about your husband. She basically, Heavenly says that, you don't respect your husband. And so Dr. Damon asked Heavenly to not really engage in the back and forth with Contessa. He is basically asking her to, stop going back and forth. So he brings up the fact that him saying stop constantly to Dr. Heavenly, to get her to stop going back and forth so he can kind of, get his point across. He sees that as a lack of respect. So now the I won't say the bond, but the alliance between Dr. Damon and Dr. Heavenly is kind of, shaky right now, because Dr. Damon is you can tell he's getting upset and annoyed, because you got Contessa over here yelling. Like, Contessa yells. Like, that would bother me too. Like, somebody who is like, almost you can't really have a calm conversation, because she gets to the point where she gets to yelling. And I can imagine if I'm on the receiving end of that, like that would annoy me with all the yelling. It would drive me up a wall. Like, I would probably shut down. Um, Damon also says that it bothers him to the core, the way that Heavenly and Contessa allow BS to get between them. So the word BS triggers Dr. Contessa, and she said it's not BS. It's not BS. It's real. And she says that it's not. Contessa says she is not Damon's wife, and that they need to make. So basically, he's saying, like, because I have some different thoughts about it. Dr. Damon is trying to. I believe he's calling it BS, because he's saying that it's petty, that of the that they are still at each other's throat, and that they were, and he probably saw for his own eyes that Dr. Heavenly and Contessa had gotten close, and now they've let her YouTube channel come in between them, and he's seeing that as petty BS. Contessa doesn't see it as petty as BS. She says it's real. And so she, I guess in her confessional, she's saying, like, she doesn't understand, don't lecture her. And they're on the same level, because they make the same pay, and he can't talk to her like that. Now, while all of this is going on between Contessa and Damon, Scott is not saying anything. So I'm thinking, as Scott being the husband, that, let me talk to Damon. And it seemed like he was trying to calm the situation, but Contessa was screaming. And then at this point, Heavenly is upset because you screaming at my husband. And so she is telling her to shut up and let him speak. And then at this point, Contessa's like, you shut the F up. And so this, it's just like, it's gotten to the point where it's like nothing can be solved because it has literally gone from 0 to 100 real quick. Um, so can so Heavenly is trying to say that, you're not even allowing him to talk and you not listening. And so Heavenly is screaming, Contessa is screaming, and Contessa is saying that Heavenly's voice is no better than hers, or Heavenly and Damon. I'm not really sure who she's talking about, but she's continuing to scream. Heavenly says she respects her husband enough not to do this arguing in front of him, and Contessa is still screaming, and Scott is still just sitting there. So Damon, excuses himself and thanks them for the invitation and politely leaves because he sees that it's going nowhere at this point. Damon tells Heavenly that she isn't listening to him, and he doesn't really, he's asking her to be quiet and stop and not engage, and because Heavenly is so busy trying to defend her husband and not listening to him to say stop, like she can't stop herself, like she's going back with Dr. Contessa. So this is just a whole bunch of back and forth. We have the issue between Contessa and Heavenly, and then Dr. Damon is having an issue with his wife, and he's not even entertaining Dr. Contessa at this point. He's having more issue with Heavenly because he's telling her, to not go there, and she's going there. Let's see. I don't want to miss anything because this is all important. So Damon is telling, Damon says in the confessional that he just wants to see forgiveness. And, Heavenly said, you can forgive but not forget. And I agree. But Dr. Damon is telling Heavenly as they're getting ready and getting in their truck, is saying, when I ask you to do something, you should do it. So this is where, I know Dr. Damon was upset, and I get what he was trying to do. He was trying to squash a beef between his wife and her friend and trying to bring them back together. And so Dr. Damon is telling Heavenly, now comment down below how you feel about him saying, when I ask your husband or, your significant other, if I ask you to do something, you should do it. Now, he didn't say, now, granted, he didn't say, when I tell you, he said, when I ask you to do something, you should do it. And I see it on two sides, because it's like, if you, on one side, your husband really don't ask for much, he really don't get into it with people, and he was really trying to get his point across, and he was trying to get me not to engage, to go to a different level. I guess I could see, him saying that, but I don't know. I feel like on one side, I feel like Dr. Heavenly was mainly defending Damon and Dr. Damon, and he should, I guess Heavenly, from what I can see from my perspective, Heavenly was trying to alleviate the fact that Contessa and him it's because Contessa seemed like she would have fought Dr. Damon. It didn't matter. So I think that, Heavenly always says, like, let the women deal with the women and the men deal with the men. So I think that when she saw that Contessa was, kind of being combative with Damon, Dr. Damon, she was like, well, let me interject because you're going to deal with me, not my husband. So I feel like that's why she was doing that, because she didn't want Damon to have to engage with Dr. Contessa, and she knew where Contessa was going with it. She hasn't done her live yet, so I'm not really sure, but I would love to hear what her thought process was at that point in time. So I could see why she jumped in to do it, but in Dr. Damon, I think wasn't getting that from what she was, why Heavenly was doing, kind of continuing on despite what he's asking her to do to stop. I do understand that Damon, is like, in his mind, he probably like, I don't ask for much. And if I ask you to do something like this, I need you to just have my back and just, kind of you know, let's stand together. And if I'm saying like don't engage, they're gonna do the Michelle Obama. If they go low, we're gonna go high. So I think that's what Dr. Damon was trying to get. And I feel like they both had they were trying to do what was best for them as a couple. And I feel like Dr. Damon is definitely old school in his thinking and his way of marriage. So I think that's why he and Dr. Heavenly have a great marriage, because they both have an old school way of marriage. So I wouldn't call Dr. Heavenly a feminist or anything. So I don't think she took offense by it. She may have been a little embarrassed, but I don't think she took offense by it because she sees that as submitting to her husband. So I don't know. I really don't know. Like I said, I'm on the fence on that situation, because I see all angles. I see where Dr. Heavenly was trying to protect her husband. I see where Damon was trying to protect Heavenly and not have her engaged and not kind of ruin the night with this argument. And then I also see where Dr. Damon was trying to make sure that Heavenly and Contessa can kind of squash their beef and move forward. So I see all angles, and I just see where Contessa just got defensive all the way around. I don't think that if I was in Dr. Contessa's shoes, I don't think you kind of want to know someone's intent. And I don't think Dr. Damon intended to make her feel bad or intended to belittle her point of view. He just wanted them to, get over it, like most men do. So I think it was just all the way around. It was just a misunderstanding all the way around. So, the sun's coming in. Hold on. So now, Cecil is checking on Dr. Damon. He goes out to check on Dr. Damon and Dr. Heavenly. And he tells his boy, cut Heavenly some slack, because he could tell that, Dr. Damon is very annoyed with Dr. Heavenly at this point. And Dr. Heavenly, she has shut her mouth. She ain't saying nothing else. And he was just like, when I say stop, you should stop. Like it was just. You could tell Dr. Damon, and he doesn't get mad often, but you could tell he was at that level. So meanwhile, Simone is still at the table and talking to Scott and Contessa, and she said they made it through because of their friend, of the friend group, and the friend group encouraging them to keep going. And she says she also thought that Heavenly and Contessa was in a better place since Vegas, and she wouldn't have invited them had she known. I call cap on that. Simone. I feel like you knew exactly what you were doing. You knew exactly what you were doing. You are playing producer on this season, girl. Girl, you playing producer. You are getting your producer credit on this show, because you are really, making sure you keep the fire stoked between Contessa and Dr. Heavenly. Like y'all really are making sure that Dr. Heavenly fights for her money this season. So as they're driving off, Dr. Damon and tells Dr. Heavenly, like, let's just not talk right now, until after I calm down. And I can respect that as well. I can respect that as well because I'm that girl. My husband would be the one that likes to continue on the conversation. And if I know that I'm at a certain level, I would tell him, like, no, let me calm down before I continue this conversation because I don't want it to go left and I don't want to say anything that I don't want to, that I don't mean or just don't want to say. So then they go into Dr. Jackie's old shot party. So Dr. Jackie is promoting her new service she's using her platform and her in the show to promote what she does. So very smart on Dr. Jackie's part. She's doing the O shot that she plugged a few weeks prior. I think the first episode talking about the O shot. So she has a party and invites all the ladies so to come to the O shot party. So Dr. Heavenly calls Dr. Jackie to let her know that she will not be able to come to the party. She just had to sign a DNR for her mom, which means do not resuscitate. And she wasn't in a good place, so she wasn't going to come to the party. She was just going to lay low, which I can, just when your parent is sick or you're going through someone, a loved one passing, like it's a lot. And, it's just, you don't want to be up there talking about, trying to make light of us, of the situation where you're trying to move. You just cannot, like sometimes you just have to know when I'm just not in an emotional space to be around other people. So I'm glad she did that. Anila comes with her mother. Why, Anila? Why are you bringing your mom to a party like this? It doesn't make sense. Like, I get it. Anila, I'm pretty sure the producers like Anila's mom because she is she is someone that is just says whatever she wants to say. She has no filter. So, and I'm pretty sure that that's why she brought her, but that just was not the party to bring your mom. Qua says she wasn't going to get the shot. She wants to make a man work for it. Come in with his best shot. So as Anila is excited about the shot, Anila's mom is like, "No, you're not getting no shot. You don't know the side effects. You're not getting no shot." And so Simone says she is excited about her WAP. She gets her shot. Toya asked, Anila if she heard about the altercation at Simone's house, and Anila was like, I did, and she didn't really say much. I guess she was trying to see what Toya knew because she wasn't about to say too much. Contessa said, Toya tells Contessa that they talking behind her back, and so she comes on over, and she tells them that the altercation was basically Heavenly's fault. So Quad is is in the earshot, and she was like, no. She was like, you don't know what Heavenly is going through. So if she did, pop off, you don't know what she's going through. Her mother is dying and may not make it to the end of the week. Thank you, Quad, for putting on your cape for Dr. Heavenly. And she was like, that's not what is about to go down. Y'all not about to start this. You don't know what people are going through. So Contessa says, let them say a word of prayer because that's her sister. And so she wants to have a word of prayer for Dr. Heavenly and her mom. And so they, the ladies touch and agree and, have a prayer for Dr. Heavenly and her mom, which is great, much appreciated. But I'm just like, I don't. You got to be careful. Everybody can't pray for you. I don't think Contessa had any malicious intent, but it's just kind of like you almost be wanting to tell, like, chill out, like just chill out, because she at every every turn she is trying to undercut or say something negative about Dr. Heavenly. So I'm glad that Quad came and said that and let her know like it's not about y'all's beef right now. Dr. Heavenly got something going on. And so that's pretty much it. Toya, threw shade about Anila, mom telling her she can't have something. She 45 plus. I didn't think Anila was that old, but maybe she is. So it was a great episode. I would rate it I would say maybe an 8, 8.5. Tell me your thoughts on, do you think that Dr. Damon was wrong to tell Heavenly to stop? Do you see what Heavenly, should Heavenly have stopped? Do you see why Heavenly, jumped in? And do you think Contessa was wrong in what she was saying? I would love to get y'all's feedback because I see all sides. I haven't picked a team or anything like that. I see some of the breakdown and I see where, I think, Dr. Damon had the right intent. It just went totally left. Totally left. And I want to know why Dr. Scott didn't try to calm his wife down. I don't understand. It was just I don't know. And do y'all think that Dr. Simone is really playing producer this season? She is definitely, to me, stirring the pot. What do you think about that? So again, this is my reality recap for Married to Medicine, episode 8. It's been fun. It's been real. I enjoy doing these. This is something that I am passionate about. I watch TV. I might as well come on YouTube and discuss it with y'all. So again, subscribe to my channel, join the tribe. And I thank you to all of my everyone who watches my recaps. I thank you for those who comment. So smash the like button. Comment down below on whose team on what we discussed, and share the video. Hit the notification button, all those good things. And I will come to you again for Married at First Sight. That's the next video. Married at First Sight. So see y'all soon. Peace.